I want to begin this letter by saying that I have no hate, animosity, or bitterness in my heart towards anyone that I have wrote about in this letter. But because I am at the point in my life where my future depends on my honesty, and that the honesty being spreaded amongst the people who love me and deserve to hear my story, it is very necessary that I tell my story. The way, the why, the who, the when, the how. This letter is to my sisters, Lisa and Cassandra, who are on my father's side. My sister Teresa, who is on my mother's side. My two brothers, Bruce and Kerry, who are on my mother's side. And of my other family members, this letter is also to my kids, Joanne, Jay, and Robert Jr. Now, the reason I felt that it was necessary to write this letter is because I do not feel too good within my body, which constantly reminds me of how horrible things would be if anything were to happen to me, God forbid. And if I left behind all of the rumors, lies, and accusations that has been spread globally about me, and because I have been so isolated and not given the opportunity to tell my side, which is the true side of my story. I felt compelled to tell it the best way that I could. And because I don't spell, it enabled me to write this letter physically. So I had to wait until I found someone within the prison that I could build enough relationship with to trust them enough to write as I talk about something as personal and sensitive as this story is. Now, I would have written this letter to my fans also because they are my family as well, especially after holding me down with the love, support, and relentlessness and unwavering faith that they have in God and me. But I did not know whether or not if it was okay or even legal to write such a letter to the public. These few lines of this letter that my heart, my soul, my mind, my music, and everything about me appreciated them. And to my fiance, my friend, my wife, my soulmate, my angel, and my queen, Joy, whom God has blessed me with and has come into my life and has given me all the new reasons to fight, not only for myself or for my kids or for my freedom, but for more importantly, Joy has given me the reason to fight for what God wants me to become and not what man wants. And I truly thank God for her. For 2.5 years, I've been sitting in prison trying to figure out how to get my truth out to you guys. But because I was so afraid that I might get put in the SHU, which is isolation, it would silence me and 100 times more for speaking out. I became muffled by my fears. You know, the government is very intimidating, especially when it comes to people like me, because of my voice is very big, and the government is very intimidated by it because they know that my voice holds my truth, and the truth is the very thing that could set me free, which is why the government basically kidnapped me. And the reason why I use the word kidnap is because I was arrested and thrown into not only prison, but in the worst place you can be within the prison, which is called the SHU. And I was held there for 71 days being robbed of my due process, then robbed of my constitutional rights, which were all violated, as you guys know. Robbed of my liberty. Where they put me in the SHU, I was told I was never once for a second in that place felt protected. And I later found out SHU is where they put you when you do something wrong. And the SHU, it stinks really bad. There's no windows, no fresh air, no food after 5 p.m. You only get one phone call a month, which is only for 15 minutes. No barber for haircuts, no TV. You have to be handcuffed and taken to the shower. You have to be handcuffed while being taken down to medical. You have to be handcuffed to meet with your attorneys. And I also have to sit there and meet with my attorneys while being handcuffed and fee shackled, which gave me an instant sense of defeat. I also felt like my attorneys also had the look of defeat on their faces when they saw me in chains. I remember Steve Greenberg telling me that I was going to have to be in jail for at least 2 years. And when he told me that, I felt like my heart had completely stopped. And when I asked him why, he just looked at me and said, because that's how long it's going to take for him to go over the discovery. Now, this was in the very, very beginning. He hadn't even went for a bond yet. But I was so green, I know nothing about how the federal court system process worked. And the way he said it to me and how he looked at me when he said it, it felt like he was going to say I had to be there for just 2 days. It was like no big deal. And I know then that I was in for a long, dark ride and I didn't know what to do about it because I was just stuck and my mind was gone. And I was just trying to pull myself together because I knew if I had fallen apart, then there would be nothing for you guys, Joy, my family, and fans to fight for. So I put all of my energy I had, which was not much at the time, towards just trying to hold me together. After a week of me being in the SHU, I started to experience some very weird things going on in my head. But they were not suicidal thoughts, but nightmares of me being buried alive and I never woke up, screaming of anything like that because I never went to sleep. I would just doze off and immediately be awakened by those thoughts. Then they tried to put a white boy that was from a gang in my cell with me, but all of the other inmates, which were black, started yelling and beating on their cell doors, screaming out to me, saying to not accept that white boy because he worked for the police. I didn't know what to do, but I was so emotional and so confused. I knew I decided to be myself at the time, and out of nowhere, I just started complaining to the officer that I wanted to be by myself and didn't want that guy coming into my cell. And so the officers left the guy, but an hour later, they came back to my cell, handcuffed me and took me into the suicide room. It was 100 times worse than the cell I was in already because the inmate that was in the suicide room right before me had wiped the walls in that cell with his own feces. And although the officers cleaned it before they put me in there, the smell was still in that cell. The bed was on the floor with a big haunting light right over it. And every morning that light would flick on at 6:30 in the morning, then flick off at 10:30 p.m. every night. At some point, Epstein had killed himself. That's when they put me back in the original cell and made me take another cellmate, which was another gang member who was put in the SHU for fighting and was in jail for gun violence. And then at some point, they took him out and made me take the white boy that I told, and then they made me take the white boy I talked about earlier. I was told that if I didn't take him, the officer said that the judge was going to hear about it and it wouldn't be good for my case. And so I took him. Long story short, the white boy ends up getting into it with a bunch of black gang members, and that's when I heard him yell out from the cell that he had made a knife, and that's why he's in the SHU. A day later, the guy steals my radio after I marked it by putting my initials on it, and I come back from the legal visit, and he switched my new radio with his old radio, and at some point I reported it because that's what I was told to do. But when I told the lieutenant, he just told me to go back to the cell and tell the inmate to keep his hands off my property. But I explained to the lieutenant that I thought I was doing the right thing by reporting it, and that if I go back in the cell not knowing who this guy is or what his case is about or what kind of time he's facing, there's no telling what I might do to him just because I'm afraid of what he might try and do to me. But I felt like he wanted something to happen between me and him. But of course I can't prove that. The officers would come and get me for a shower. They would back me out of the cell door and handcuff me. And I'm handcuffed. The officer would start talking and laughing with me about certain songs that I wrote. and the officers would ask me to sing some of the songs, and I would do it. But I thought I could get some extra food from them because I have seen other inmates get extra food for cleaning up or folding clothes, but I didn't get any extra food. But they would continue to ask me to sing there, here and there, hoping that at some point they would give me some extra food because, oh my God, I stay hungry all the time. And even though I would sing and laugh and smirk with the officers as I did, behind the smile and the laughter was a tsunami of tears because while I was singing, I felt degraded and worthless because I would be in handcuffs while doing it. But I was also hungry, so the more they would ask me, the more I would do it. Humiliating as it is, but like I say, I was hungry. So I never wanted to say no because that could have been the day that they decided to give me some extra food. But it never happened.
We here now. Damn, I wish I was pushing the act. Damn, I wish I was pushing the act. Damn, I wish I was pushing the act. I had no haps if I was pushing the act. Damn. I wish I was pushing the act.